So this year at our school, we had huge issues with diversity. Before the school year started, there was a feud on Twitter actually about the LGBTQ community. And when we entered school, it was on a really rough start. We didn't know exactly how to treat that community, how to best deal with the issue, because this was a school-wide thing that it had turned into. So that was one of my first, I guess, means of activism on campus. I started, I guess, speaking out for the LGBTQ community. We had a week called Dubversity Week because Dublin High School, and it was a week of trying to promote inclusivity, understand perspectives, I guess, have students speak out in front of the school that wouldn't have had the opportunity otherwise. So that was one of the main things that I participated in. I didn't speak out for myself, rather I let my peers speak out, and that was the first big thing. The second big thing, with the recent school shootings, the mass school shootings, especially in Parkland, I came together with a few of my friends and we planned a school walkout on one day. Then we planned another huge all-day walkout where we walked to the city council and we sat there and we had speeches, we had poems, we had songs. And then for the next year, we are planning more of like a town hall meeting where we're going to be inviting our mayor, some representatives to come speak with us about how we can make our school campus safer.
The Islamic networking group I first met at an interfaith event at this very mosque I'm being interviewed at. There were some rabbis, there were priests over there. It was a very cool experience, and they were giving a workshop to them. And we got to do a few activities together, you know, we talked about some questions that they gave us, discussions and all that, about some of the very questions we're discussing today. And it was a really, really cool thing. And I talked to some of the members of the Islamic Network group about what they did, and I was very interested, and they had more events they were holding, so I'm like, how about, they made me aware of their youth speaker training program. My first event was at church, and I think I spoke to, more than 200 people that day, and that was a very, very humbling experience, and there were a lot of people that came up to me and after, and they said, thank you for, showing my children this, or talking to my children about this, or talking to me about this. You made me aware of some things I wasn't aware of before, and that made me think this is why I'm doing this. And I've spoken at middle schools, high schools, and things like that, and when I see that people are made aware of Islam and made aware of the cultural identity that I have and that billions of people have, that really feels empowering, and that really feels like I'm making some sort of difference. And I'm very thankful to the Islamic Network Group for giving me that opportunity.
So one of the things I am very active is actually, so I'm a product design student, so it's a hybrid of art, design, and mechanical engineering. And one of the clubs that I led this past year was this club called Design for America, and it's a kind of local design studio, student-based design studio that focuses on kind of local change. And the idea behind it is to talk to people and solve problems from talking to people on an individual basis that kind of solve like a bigger problem. And this is something that I was very passionate about. Was in a couple of design classes, one of them that struck out to me was the idea of designing seatbelts for people. And one of the things that car companies don't do is they don't design seatbelts for pregnant women. And their argument is that in good design, you don't design for the SKUs, you only design for the broad general kind of population. This club was one of the clubs that I had been introduced as a sophomore. And so my first year, I worked on a project kind of working with the children's hospital here and designing hospital spaces that are actually for children. If you go to a hospital today, what they usually do is they'll paint the wall a bright color, put a kid's poster on it, and put a children's book in the room, and that's a children's hospital room. They've just basically done a very minute things and converted it to make it child friendly. And so we worked with the local hospital school. We talked to a lot of different kids and parents to think about what are the best ways to approach this. And so this was kind of one of the ways where I was able to take something that I was very passionate about in terms of like design and designing for many people and turn it into kind of a project.
So equity is really important to me. I am part of a club at my school that's called Dream Club. What they do is they raise money for undocumented students to go to school. At my school, there's a lot of students who are undocumented and still people who are arriving. And so what I do is I was actually part of an event, which was a dinner. We performed skits, so students that were part of the club performed skits. and people just ate food. They had to pay for entrance, and that's how we raised the money for them. So undocumented status gets in the way from people's education. I have various friends who do not have papers, which means that when I go off to college, some of them may have to go to get jobs, just trying to stay home with their family, not being able to come out of that little bubble that they're all trapped in because they can't really do much because education is not being offered. So that's what kind of puts me like in a bit of an anger, but also kind of like compassion about people, just because I feel like I can help as an American citizen. I can offer them help, and which is, even though it's just like a little bit of a piece of help that I'm offering right now, I know it will be like a big deal for other students.